House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is in Israel this morning. Her visit comes on the heels of a claim made by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC alleging Palestinian children are being put in cages in Israel's West Bank. She compared them to illegal immigrants detained at the Texas border. Daniel Cohen joins us now live from Jerusalem with the latest. Daniel?
Yeah, major criticism for AOC. And let's be clear here. There are no Palestinian kids in cages in the West Bank. It's an absurd claim AOC made. She was campaigning for far-left socialist candidates in Texas. And we don't know if what she said, if she meant it literally or if she meant it figuratively. What we do know is this: pro-Israel organizations are furious.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi being welcomed to Israel's Knesset Wednesday morning by Speaker Mickey Levy. Pelosi told Israeli lawmakers the U.S. and Israel are allies in the threat from Iran. She also called Israel the greatest political achievement of the 20th century. Pelosi's Jerusalem visit comes as AOC blurts another wild claim. While rallying Sunday for Greg Casar, a Democratic socialist running in the Lone Star State's 35th district, AOC falsely tried to paint Israel as human rights abusers. Her exact words were, "I don't believe that a child should be in a cage on our border, and I don't believe a child should be in a cage in the West Bank." On Monday, the publication Jewish Insider asked for examples of children being imprisoned in so-called cages in the West Bank, and the Congresswoman's office did not respond. The Simon Wiesenthal Center tweeted, AOC demonizing Jews at a time of raging anti-Semitism in New York City. Throwing children into cages is inhuman and cruel. Prove it or apologize. You're legitimizing hatred against Jewish people everywhere. The grassroots organization United with Israel tweeted, Dear AOC, I also don't believe that children should be in cages. Please reply with one example of a Palestinian child being held in a cage by the state of Israel ever. Looking forward to hearing from you. Israeli actress, activist, and mom Noah Tishby said, Hey AOC, care to explain this? There are no kids in cages in the West Bank. Your demonization of Israel is abhorrent, irresponsible, and dangerous. Remember these viral images of AOC crying over migrants held at a detention facility in Texas? AOC blasted the Biden administration last February when it opened a border detention facility in Carrizo Springs. She tweeted, This is not okay, never has been okay, never will be okay, no matter the administration or party.
Pelosi told the Knesset this morning the House proudly passed Iron Dome funding last year. Now, you may remember AOC was a no until the very last minute where she switched her vote to present. One last thing I want to share with you. The congressional delegation traveling with Pelosi in Israel this week, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, Representative Barbara Lee from California, and Florida's Ted Deutsch, who chairs the Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on the Middle East. Now back to you.
All right, Daniel Cohen, thank you very much for that report. Let's bring back in our panelists now to get their reaction. We're joined by Jenna Ellis, Melanie Burkholder, Christian Whiton. Panelists, we've actually got a number of topics to get to, but we will start with Daniel's reporting first. Christian, I'll go to you. Your thoughts on some lawmakers on the left side of the aisle and the comments they have made about the U.S. ally Israel.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not just a small faction of the Democratic Party anymore. It's a growing faction that really is taking the Palestinian side against Israel, really trying to make political Islam great again. If you look back in the early Biden administration, we forget now because of the subsequent fiasco in Afghanistan, but there was a war in which Hamas in the Gaza Strip fired quite a few missiles into Israel. Israel had to respond and did so resolutely. Incidentally, the munitions they used to respond have not been restocked by the United States. So if Pelosi actually wants to help Israel, she may want to do that. But whether it's Biden, whether it's Pelosi or other Democrats, they have this long-running love affair with the Palestinians, and they just can't accept the fact that because of Donald Trump, because of the Abraham Accords, which achieved peace between Israel and a number of Arab states, the region has just moved beyond the dispute. They seem stuck in it for some reason.
Let's pivot slightly. Jenna, the number of House Democrats not seeking re-election is growing. Now 30 members of Congress say they will not seek another term. New York Representative Kathleen Rice calling it quits recently here. Why the mass exodus?
Well, I think they're seeing the polling numbers are just failing. They're seeing that their mask mandates, their vaccine mandates, all of their different petty tyranny policies are utterly failing. And the Democrat Party is just simply not going to be in control after the 2020 or the 2022 election and the midterms. And so I think that for a lot of the Democrats, they would rather just exit quietly rather than face utter defeat. And so I think it's very fascinating to see how the 2022 midterms are shaping up, and also the pivots from the Democrats, even here in D.C. and other places in the blue states that are trying to roll back some of these mandates ahead of the midterms because they know that their policies are utterly failing and the Democrat Party is losing. So I think we're just seeing the ramifications of the Democrats who have wanted so much control, and now they're saying, you know what, we recognize that the voters are just not going to stand for it. And this is a great thing that we have midterms, that we have elections in the United States of America, so that we can make sure to vote out these petty tyrants or have them quit before we even have elections. I think it's